Not sure I taped it yesterday, but at the last minute I was kind of looking at it going, okay, you know, if I, instead of having it down here, because one thing I didn't like with having it down here, I liked the fact that it was tucked away. I could mount right up against the back here, but it really kind of limited how much length I have on the cables. And the more length I have to swing, the more gentle the bends are going to be, the more length that any stress fatigue from moving back and forth in the same direction over and over. You know, wire, it's called the coat hanger effect. You bend a coat hanger back and forth long enough, snaps in half. That happened to a piece of stainless steel on my ankle actually, but another story. So I want to keep that longer. I don't want to have it down to where it's bending hard at any one point. But let's see with it sitting there how well it moves. Okay. I like where I'm at. I'm not actually hitting any of the shields or anything like that, so I'm gonna shoot this again. I don't remember if I took any video of how I put that down on there. I had to get a longer screw to hold the wire tie, and it was metric, M4 I believe. But I decided that since down there, you know, the armoring was pulled out, I really didn't want it to flex there. So this loop here will stay fixed, and it will only flex from the point after the cable tie. Well, I brought enough slack around front here so I could cut off all the excess. Now on this side here, the cable sheath ends about here, and he ran it all the way out. Here it ended, you know, here. So I'm gonna tape it up on both sides. One thing I did do, I carefully cut it off with an X-Acto blade and my flush cuts. I also went ahead and put a couple of snips in on the ends there, and the reason being is I want as I tape these down, I want those to be able to overlap a bit and give me a better taper down to the wire, instead of just being hard and having to try to drop from, you know, a 1/2 inch hole down to, you know, 3/16, 1/4 inch. So I probably could have left a little bit more on this end, but it's what I've got now. So and it would have been nearly impossible to get the tape on underneath the machine here. Basically the first pass is, I'm going to concern myself more with, you know, getting it on tight, and I don't have to run it out quite as far. This will also help protect it from coolant and oils and stuff like that, so make sure I get it sealed down good. Put a little stretch on it there so it'll conform to the alright. It's a whole lot easier to tear if you give it a little cut to start with. I can grab the scissors for the next one and cut it the whole way. Okay. I didn't tape over the middle. I didn't need to. My thought kind of is too is now I can easily find that edge and cut that with an X-Acto blade and pull this apart, and then I can just you know, add another piece of tape around there to seal it back up. I could do that now, but I really don't expect to have to take this thing apart. So okay, and I'm going to carry it over a good 3/4 of an inch to an inch past where the edge of the cable is there. Doesn't matter how much you go, I can tape the whole thing up just to make it black instead of yellow. And this is one of those things, I've got a couple different kinds of electrical tape. I've got, you know, the good quality 77 brand Scotch, which is what this is. You can get the Harbor Freight and the dollar store cheapies. Those are fine for, a lot of times for doing this kind of stuff. You know, if I just wanted to wrap this part, I could just use the dollar store stuff and cover that up. I'm not worried about its insulating properties. I'm not worried about really anything, and I'm not trying to stretch it over convoluted surfaces. Most of the time that stuff is a little on the stiff and rigid side. So I ran just a little bit more over the taper there. You know, and I'm not showing anybody anything new here, really. This is it's applying electrical tape, for Pete's sakes. So basically what I wanted to show is, you know, I put the slits in the big heat shrink there. And why? Let's pull it back through the other side. Okay, I'm going to run it back and forth a couple times, and just to see how that handles. Now I'm also going to hold my hand against it, up against the back of the chip tray to simulate, you know, the pegboard up here, kind of holding it flat against it, because that might change how it bows a little bit. So I've got it all the way against the up against the headstock, basically. So let's run it out the other way. Whoop. Keep the bit in the handle. Now typically I won't even go this far. The tailstock will be on there, okay? But the wiring's protected, and I could get away with going about that far. Now that'd be pushing it. I wouldn't want to do it repeatedly, you know, over and over like that. You know, but if I had to reach out there and do it once or twice, that would be okay. I wouldn't want to set that as my home position and have those wires rub like that. But I think we're okay. It's getting pretty close to time to put it in its new home. I need to basically push it in there and test fit it and make sure that the heights I'm setting the shelves at, stuff like that, is all okay. Make sure I have enough adjustment in the feet to level it, that kind of thing. So that's what's going to happen next. Let it down onto the casters. Well, that's a little too close. I'm not going to be able to level it up. So I'll have to take the stuff off the shelf, take the shelf down, pull this back out, move that power strip up a couple of inches. No big deal. I've got room for it. I started off trying to level to the bench, and it's got some wow in it and stuff like that, and it's pretty close now. It seemed like it was way off before, but I didn't show the leveling, but basically the leveling of the table and the lathe itself isn't the crucial part. Once I get it put in here for the final time, then I'll do the other leveling where I check the twist in the bed. So I've got 0 degrees left and right. I'm level left to right, and if I put it over on the cross slide, that's level 2. And then I want to make sure that none of my feet, you know, are off the ground or anything. The other thing I'm checking too is to make sure that it's not touching the wall, because that goes right to the living room on the other side, and if it's touching the wall, that'll just act like a big diaphragm, you know, like a speaker diaphragm kind of thing. Look at that nice ugly concrete mess there where they poured the footing for the upright to support the addition above the garage. I think it's solid enough. It's just their cleanup work around it. Everything just kind of pathetic. So that leg is out, you know, at least another inch over the one that's in the front left. Okay, well, everything's so tight on the bench and the shelves and stuff like that, I need to take these edges off down flush. So I thought, well, you know, let's just, I'm not going to unbolt them and get fancy or anything like that, so I thought, well, let's just see if we can take them off with the Sawzall. I think that'll be close enough. Hope so. Well, I'm going to set this in there and see what space I've got. Starting to piece it together enough to, I'm getting close. I basically put a cleat on the back wall on both of these shelves so that they can't flip forward. I can move them left and right, and I can even pull them out easily without having to undo that cleat. So that I can run wires if I want. If I want to get the control box out of here, I can take everything off the shelves and pull them out, and then lift that up out of there without having to actually move the bench. I can't get the 30-inch extension in back there with the shelves where they're at, but if I pull the shelves to the left a little bit, I can get it down in there. I was thinking I was going to have to run to Harbor Freight and buy one just to leave in that hole back there dedicated, but I don't. So that monitor's for that computer, which is what's going to be running the lathe. It'll have its own dedicated computer. I have another computer to put in, but I don't want to introduce any more changes than I have to, so I will get it back up and running and tested and everything with that computer. And then at some point I will put the other computer in. Let's see here. This, I'm going to be putting another CPU up here that will go to this, and that is a much newer, nicer computer that will connect to the internet wirelessly. So my hope is that I don't get it too awfully dirty. You know, I can get it tucked all the way back here, and most of the time this stuff will be slinging forward, not backwards. But what I'm looking to do there is I'll just put the keyboard and the mouse up here, and I'm hoping to be able to surf the internet and that kind of stuff and use that computer for I haven't bought GWizard yet because I wasn't sure which computer I wanted to put it on, and I'm not positive. I think it was one of those where, you know, I'd have to have a different license. So now they're talking about coming out with one for the iPad, and that might just be perfect. We'll see. But if I have the dedicated computer over here, I can go out and do all that kind of stuff. I can upload videos and all that kind of stuff right here from the shop with that computer, and never have to worry about this one being in harm's way with viruses and stuff like that. I do have a, it's just tucked in there for now. It's a USB extension port from the backside, just because there's no port on the front. It's got a tape drive for backup. It's got a floppy disk, so you know how old that thing is. But for, you know, I should be able to take from a memory stick out of this computer and plug it into that cable and transfer files and stuff like that. The computer that's connecting to here will be strong enough. I could actually do CAD work on it without any problem. Okay, So maybe that way if I need to change something, stuff like that, I can do that, and then I can change it, and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I still need to put some oil in the ball screw nuts. I did some looking on that. Somebody posted saying that I needed to grease them, and so I went on Thompson's, the people who make, the company that makes the these ball screws, and reading through it, and it was for heavy use. I could use grease and stuff like that, but it said for environments like with high debris and medium use, stuff like that. Anyway, the gist of it is that I came to the conclusion that really all I need is 10W30 in there, which is what they recommended. So I'm going to oil that, and that'll make it a whole lot easier to keep it oiled. Debris will fall away more easily with oil than with grease. Kind of like you know, a fly on fly paper with grease. You know, once it hits it, it's not going to want to just drop off of there. Oil is viscous enough that even if it gets a surface tension and holds, it'll fall away. Anyway, I've got stuff I want to do to the drive. Oh, this is what I wanted to show. I got everything powered up enough that I can spin the headstock here. And look at that, my tack works. This is probably going to be it for a couple of days here. I don't typically get out to the shop on Monday and Tuesday much, but I've got everything set up for the most part. I had the X in the wrong plug, and see how it's jumping like that? Not exactly sure what's going on with that. It settles down. If I turn this on and zero this or whatever, I'm going to have to play around with that. I'm going to have to go read Shumatek's site and figure out what's going on there. I won't typically be using it, but what I have up on the screen there ready to go is, this is a push rod. This is one of the things I was turning with it before I shut it down. So it just happened to be one of the files that was in there. So I've just been cutting air. I put the oil in the ball screws. I oiled up my those galleys that I had cut. I've got the spindle on now. I'm not exactly sure why my off switch doesn't work. I'm going to have to go in there and take a look at that. I can make it not turn on the spindle by getting it in between forward and reverse here, but that's a problem for another day. I hooked up the belt. I hooked it up in the middle. It was on the lowest, the smallest motor spindle and the biggest pulley, and the biggest spindle pulley, and it would go up to 800 RPMs. In the middle, I can easily get up over 1,000. So, considering the small stuff that this is going to be turning like those push rods, I kind of at least want to be able to get to 1,000. So anyway, let's see. We put it in forward here. We'll just vibration there when it gets over 2 grand. I'm not sure this thing was supposed to be spinning that fast anyway. The biggest reason I like having the tack, one, is so I can set my speeds now. But I can now go look at the pulleys and get that ratio, and then when I want to switch over to the timing belt setup like these have, I can see which is the best way to go with the sizes and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm looking at that for the future. But so let's tell it to cut some more air here, I guess. You know, still got some more playing with it to do and stuff, but yeah, this is a reason I want to put a faster computer on it. I'm pretty sure that, okay, it's just making one run at a feed rate of, no, it doesn't show the feed rate there. Anyway, it's making that single run. Now if I push the right button to move this graphic, hear what it did? Let the button off. Yeah, driver watchdog triggered. So I can move it a little bit, and you hear it bump and stop. So if I was actually turning apart right now, thinking about it, and I came over here and moved the graphic to be able to see it, you know, I'd have a hiccup in my finish there. Oh, there it is.